Effie, and this video is going to be filmed over the course of most of the next year, as I'm going to be doing a tier ranking at the end of each month. A wee asterisk. I don't know how you do an asterisk with your fingers, but a wee asterisk to say that at the time that I'm filming this intro, which I'm filming at the end of February, oh no, it's technically March now, I have combined January and February together because that's how I did my wrap up for those months. But I do not anticipate combining future months, so it should be a monthly thing that I come in and film an update. But I decided that rather than doing 11 or 12 separate videos for tier rankings like I did in 2023, instead I would merge them into one mega tier ranking video. So that's what this will be. I hope that you enjoy it, and thank you for even clicking on this video. Love you all. So the first thing I'm going to do is add all the images that I need for my January and February tier rankings. Let's get cracking then. So first off, A Twisted Love Story. I'm actually going to say it was good in the moment. Like, I did enjoy it, but I can't imagine ever returning to it. Blood Orange was a DNF, so that shouldn't even be on the list. Bright Young Women, I really enjoyed, and actually I need to get myself a physical copy because that was a really good book. Broken Dolls, easily eat it out the window, because why does this book even exist? What was going on in this author's mind to write this piece of garbage? No. He started it, If You Can't Say Anything Nice. I mean, I feel like Broken Dolls being in the bottom category makes it really difficult for anything else to go in there. House of Flame and Shadow, I don't know, because the thing is, the more I sit with it, the more I don't love it. I think by the time this video comes out at the end of the year, I'm going to say deeply mid is correct. But I did enjoy it when I was reading it, but I see more and more flaws as time passes. And ultimately, it's only been a month and I've already moved from saying it was fine to being like, no. Penance, I think I'm going to put into Impeccable Vibes, because whilst I did enjoy it, it just didn't quite hit the mark I was hoping for. Pretty Girls, I'm going to actually put in Loveless and Will Treasure It for years to come, because I think it actually did quite a good job of what it was trying to achieve. I don't know if that makes sense. And then we've got Satan's Affair. I'm going to say, yeah, good vibes. Good vibes, impeccable vibes, good in the moment. Like, I had a good time with it. There were some issues with the characterization, but overall I had a good time. Saving Noah I'm actually going to put in the lowest category because it was an apologist book for nonces, and I'm not about that energy. That one, obviously, so that was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet and lovely and all the good words about it. Heresies and Sorrows, I'm going to say impeccable vibes. I had some enjoyment of it when I was reading it, and yeah, it was a good time. I don't really know what else to say, but it was good. Gothic Grove, I'm going to say If You Can't Say Anything Nice. It had potential. It just didn't live up to said potential. Legally Binding, easily treasure for years to come. If you haven't read it already, please do. Behind the Broken, I didn't mean to put that in mid. That is the, sorry, I've scrolled. I think impeccable vibes. Like, it probably, like, it wasn't perfect, but I had a really good time with it. A Game of Love and Betrayal, I'm gonna put in impeccable vibes because there were some aspects of it that I really enjoyed, but then there were some aspects of it that I thought was so crucially flawed that I just couldn't get behind. Baby X, I'm gonna put in Love This Book because, well, quite frankly, I loved it. An Education of Malice, loved it. Cemetery Boys, loved it. Honeybloods, loved it. Seems like I had a pretty decent reading couple of months. Lifeline, If You Can't Say Anything Nice. I think this was marketed incorrectly, quite honestly. Like, it was marketed as if it was going to be a second chance romance, but instead was more of a lit fic, saunter through the world kind of book, and it just didn't work for me. Monstrous, impeccable vibes. I absolutely love how unashamedly monstrous the women in this book are. And Dark Clover, I'm going to say, loved it, and that was a real surprise for me. And because Blood Orange was a DNF, we are ignoring that one. So that is the tier ranking for January and February. And I guess I will see you next month. It simultaneously feels like it's been just a minute and it's been ages since I did my last tier ranking. So this is for March, and let's run through them. A Fate Inked in Blood, I had a really good time, so I'm going to put that in. Look forward to treasuring it for years. Bride, oh, that's a difficult one, because I did have a really good time by the end of it, but it was a little bit obnoxious in places. I'm going to put it in impeccable vibes. Dark Stranger, If You Can't Say Anything Nice, it just didn't work for me, unfortunately. Diavola, I'm going to put in the top category. I had a really good time with it. It's not necessarily going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it definitely was my cup of tea. Faebound, definitely adored it. It was really good, and it had a good selection of representation in it. Just all around a good time. How to Solve Your Own Murder, impeccable vibes, I'd say. It wasn't particularly predictable, but it also didn't wow me. I'm not an Omega. Impeccable vibes. Like, I'm not sure what it could have done to be better, but it just wasn't quite 100%. But as far as like an Omegaverse story goes, it was a good time. Lore and Lust, absolutely adored it. Easily loved it and treasure it for years to come. Secrets of the Vampire, I'd say impeccable vibes. It could have done more, and I think part of the reason it didn't was because it's intended as a book for a younger audience, which I didn't realise at the time when I picked it up. But it does talk a lot more widely about vampires than I think some of the books necessarily do. The Awakening of Ivy Levold, I mean, it's got to be in the top category. It's a Sierra Simone, and I generally have a really good time with Sierra Simone books. The Last Devil to Die, oh, it had me weeping, but in the best way. Definitely loved it. Seems like I had a really good month. Oh, Song of Achilles is gonna have to be If You Can't Say Anything Nice, and we'll leave it at that. To Ignite a Pyrite Spirit, deeply mid. I wanted it to do more, and I think it's meant to be this, even though it's theoretically meant to be a standalone, it feels like it almost like a prequel, like it's setting up a story still to come, and that left me feeling unsatisfied. Waiting for the Flood, I had a really good time with. And then Whispers from the Cocoon, I'm going to put in If You Can't Say Anything Nice, only because it made literally zero impression on me. So I literally can't say anything about it because I didn't really get much from it. And that is my tier ranking for March. So we are already on April. Where's this year gone? Anyway, let's tier rank these. So That's Not My Name, even though I kind of predicted the twist, I'm gonna have to put it in the top category because I think it did a really good job and succeeded at like exactly what it's trying to do. Hell Followed With Us, I adored it. I just found so much to love in this book, and I don't know, genuinely, like, it's a difficult book and it's not going to be for everyone, but I had a really good time with it. Unholy with Eyes Like Wolves, again, I loved it. I mean, Sapphic Vampires, like, it's going to be a rare day when Sapphic Vampires doesn't work for me, So, of course, I adored this. Temporary Wife, you know what? I'm going to also put that in the top category because it was exactly the kind of book that, yeah, actually, like, maybe I'll move it down later on, but it was exactly the kind of book that I was looking for in the moment, and I had a really good time with it. Such a Freak, I'm going to put in Impeccable Vibes just because a few things were changed, and I'm such a massive fan of the Darren Shan books that it is a little bit tricky for me when it's not quite true to the source material. Like, I think it does a really good job, and I also enjoy the little cartoons about the illustrator's life, but it wasn't perfect. Fake Mate, I'm gonna say Impeccable Vibes. Like, I had a good time when I was reading it, but I don't know, something wasn't quite amazing with it. I think it was maybe a bit corny, maybe a little bit like not generally my kind of romance, but at the time that I read it, it was a fun ride, and I think it's a deeply forgettable book. I can't really remember much about it, but I had a good time in the moment when I was reading it. Velveteen Rabbit, I'm actually going to say, if you can't say anything nice, it just had no impact on me. And I think because I'd heard for years it was this devastating book and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, is this it? Okay, cool. The Actor and His Secret, I really love. I was going to say, like, this comes out soon, but at the point this video goes up, like, it will have been out for 6 months. I hadn't read any Benjamin Alderson when I read this. And Laura R. Samerton, her debut came out after I read this book, because this book I think came out in like June, July. It was a really lovely romance. It hit all of the beats that I like, and it was a good time. Galati, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I am actually going to put it in the top category. I'm not generally like a massive fan of Madeline Miller, as evidenced by earlier when I put Song of Achilles in If You Can't Say Anything Nice. But this book just hit just right for me, and I love that for it. In the Lives of Puppets, I'm going to put in Deeply Mid. There were a lot of things that didn't work for me about this book, but the character work was so well executed that, yeah, it ends up coming middle of the pack. In Faust, yes. Like, this is enemies to lovers where they never stop being enemies, and oh, it's so good. So good. And then finally, we've got When I Arrived at the Castle, which I'm going to put in Impeccable Vibes. I had to go online and sort of see what people were saying about what actually was going on in the book. But I did have a good time reading it, and it is absolutely stunning. It is really gorgeous, this book. So that is April. So I'll see you, I guess, in a minute for the May one, but at the time I'm filming, I'll see you next month. It's June, which means it's time for the May tier ranking. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So let's run through the books that I read in the month of May and tier rank them. So I started an attempt to try and read an average of one manga, graphic novel, comic a day in the month of May, and I didn't succeed, but it does mean that I've got slightly more books than I've had in previous months to rank, but hopefully I can go through them really quickly. So, A Cursed Son, I'm gonna just immediately put in Treasured. I really enjoyed the kind of forced marriage and the they're falling for each other, they've got connection, etc, and I'm desperately waiting for the sequel now. I think that's called A Guest in the House. Yeah, that works. Impeccable Vibes. I do think there's something about Carol's writing that sometimes feels a little abrupt, and it feels like the reader is at a distance. It's absolutely stunning, the artwork, and you cannot fault Carol's artistic ability. But I think sometimes the story itself doesn't necessarily translate, or at least I have a difficult time understanding what's actually trying to be conveyed. The next thing is And By These Things They Are Destroyed, which is a short story by S.T. Gibson. I mean, technically this probably shouldn't be part of the tier ranking, but I am, and I'm going to put it in the top category because I really enjoyed it. Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms, again, absolutely fantastic, queer, adorable, so affirming, just very, very cute. Die, that was actually the first comic, so not even the first volume, the first comic, and I'm going to say impeccable vibes. Like, I didn't get enough into the story to have a real feel for it, but I did enjoy what I'd read. Everyone Who Can Forgive Me Is Dead. Ooh. I'm going to put it in If You Can't Say Anything Nice. At this point in time, it was probably a mid, but as time progresses, I can very much feel it slipping into If You Can't Say Anything Nice. Evocation, oh my gosh, I loved it. If you get a chance to listen to the audiobook, if you haven't already read it, highly recommend. Fairy Tale, yeah, it's mid. It was fine. It's not my jam, but it was fine. For Real might be my favourite Alexis Hall so far, and that is saying something, so yep. Here For the Wrong Reasons, I'm going to give it impeccable vibes. I picked it up because I really enjoyed The Charm Offensive, and this is like a sapphic take on that. Like, they are very like different stories, but they're both queer stories sat around a dating reality TV show. And yeah, it was lovely, and I think it didn't fall into a lot of the traps that this story could have fallen into, and I loved seeing that. Honey, oh my gosh, Honey. Oh, quite possibly one of my favourite books of the year. I feel like I'm finding some incredible books every month, and every month I'm like, oh, what's going to be my favourite this year? Because that was a fantastic book. Oh, love it so much. I married my best friend to Shut Up My Parents. I'm going to put it mid just because I would have liked a little bit more. I get that it's meant to be a one-shot, but I felt a little bit shortchanged. Like, we'd only really got into the story and then it was over, and we got some random like extra one shots at the end, but of different relationships. So I wanted more than what it delivered. Inside the Wicked, I'm gonna give it impeccable vibes. Like, it dealt with some really difficult subjects in a way that was compassionate, but also like I felt a little bit too seen by it. I think ultimately though the pacing didn't quite work for me, and I'm not sure what Penaranda could have done to make it tighter, but it didn't quite match how I'd felt about Behind the Broken. Although, to be fair, I put that in impeccable vibes as well, so they're well matched. Law and Lust, I think, yeah, is that The Vanishing? Yeah. So that's book 2. I don't know where that landed, but that's not where I meant to put it. I loved it. I love this series so much. I keep putting in the wrong category. There we go. Law and Lust is in the treasured category because, yeah, just highly recommend. Queer vampires, and they're BIPOC, and there's so much like intrigue and also so much romance. Oh, fantastic. My Darling Dreadful Thing. Ooh, I'm going to put in impeccable vibes, although it is close to being mid, because I just think I was expecting something else. I was expecting like an extra level of reveal that I just didn't get. Mycroft Holmes and the Apocalypse Handbook, yeah, yeet it out the window. Like, there was some very questionable things, and the humour was incredibly puerile. No. Never a Hero. Oh, I read that in one day and loved, well, practically one day, and Absolutely adored it, devoured it, need the sequel, don't know when we're getting the sequel. Yep. Night watching, incredible, so insightful. Go in knowing as little as possible and have an incredible time. Although it is really hard hitting. Rocker! I'm gonna find impeccable vibes. Like, it's weird, but in the really enjoyable way. Only a Monster, yes, also treasure it, loved it. So Only a Monster's the first book and Never a Hero's the sequel. And I took a little bit longer to read it. I took my time with it, but it was so compulsive to read. Yeah. The Other King, I'm going to put impeccable vibes. Like, I didn't finish it that long ago, but I've already forgotten, like, a lot of it. I think it was pretty decent, but we'll see where the story progresses in the sequel. The Fireborn Blade, impeccable vibes. It is a... Oops, that went the wrong place. It's a novella, so I think it's one that's going to be explored further as we get subsequent books. But I liked what we saw there, and it was a very interesting world that feels like it's got lots of secrets still to tell, and I appreciated that. Oh, The Nice House on the Lake. That was so dark, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the top category, actually. I wasn't sure if it was impeccable vibes, but from what I've read of this series so far, which, I mean, to be fair, you can't judge a single book. You can't judge a whole series on one book. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Sorry. But yeah, from what I've read so far, yeah, loved it. The Promised Neverland, I'm going to put it in impeccable vibes. Like, I don't really know where the series is going to go, but it's left me feeling intrigued, and I look forward to seeing where it goes first. Whistle, I am going to yeet it out window because queer erasure, we do not like that. And also, it was just boring as anything. Your Coffin or Mine, I am also going to yeet it out window. Actually, like, I probably should have put it in the above category, but this is my tier ranking, and I'm going to yeet that out the window. So that is it for the month of May. So I will see you back again next month, which will be in a couple of seconds because that's how this video is edited. But I will see you back again next month where I tier rank everything I've read in June. Hi, it literally has been ages. Well, like 2 months since I recorded a tier ranking clip. Like, I'll be honest, like, I actually kind of kept forgetting to record tier ranking clips. I know the face cam is not ideal today because I've got light right behind me. Hopefully you can just about see me. But yeah, let's just get into June and July, which includes Hugo Award stuff. So this could be interesting. I mean, trying to remember everything, but also, you know, running through Hugo Award things. So we have Paradise Lost. I'm going to put in impeccable vibes. Like, it was sometimes a little difficult to know what was going on, but very beautiful artwork. Oh, it's like filling up the screen now. Exit Wounds. I mean, yeah, I'm going to yeet it out. I did not rate it. Oh, The Spirit Bears Its Teeth. Easily loved this book category. Blossoms in Autumn, if you can't say anything nice. Like, it was fine, but it went in a direction that made me less than comfortable. Junk, I'm going to say deeply mid. I think it was good, probably good when it came out, but just didn't quite hit for me. Snowden with a Succubus, impeccable vibes. I love the way that I.S. Bell writes. Honeycart, is it impeccable vibes or is I loved it? I'm going to say impeccable vibes. I think part of it was because obviously I enjoy Sierra Simon's writing, so I'm signed up to her newsletter, and I'd been spoiled. I say spoiled, like, it's a romance, so like, you know where the story's kind of going, but I'd been spoiled for a particular moment through that newsletter, and then that moment didn't happen until quite a chunk of the way through the book, and I was like, just kind of waiting for it to happen. Vampires, I loved it. It's a really good non-fiction resource on kind of the origins of some vampire mythos. Honey Bites, yes, I love the Honey Blood series. Can I see yes, I can see Honey Craves. We'll put Honey Craves on at the same time because also an absolute mood. I have had such a good time with this trilogy and I'm really excited to read more from I.S. Bell. Road of Bones, impeccable vibes. The artwork was a little difficult at times, but overall a good time. Ooh, now I've got to try and remember what these short stories represent. So I think this one is How to Raise a Kraken in Your Bathtub. And in fact, yes, Deeply Mid is the right category for it. Mausoleum's Children. Ooh, I'm going to say If You Can't Say Anything Nice because I mean, it just didn't click for me. The Sound of Children Screaming is a weird one because it was a little bit too opaque in what it was trying to say. But I also, I got kind of Wayward Children vibes with it. I'm going to put in Deeply Mid because it's like the good cancels out the bad. The Year Without Sunshine was very optimistic, but I liked it. Impeccable vibes. Wonder Woman Historia, yeah, impeccable vibes. The artwork's stunning. I just wish that the ending had been a bit different. Tasting the Future Delicacy 3 times, I'm going to say loved it. It was very, very different, but very, very good. Schubert Lubeck, I loved that. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'm loving how much I've got in the top category. It makes me really happy that the top 2 categories are way, way chunkier than the bottom 3 categories. Saga, also an absolutely amazing time. I love the Saga series so much. Three Body Problem, If You Can't Say Anything Nice, just because I felt like the story was only really getting going when it ended. Oh gosh, what's this one from Clarkesworld? Oh, Introduction to 2181 Overture, 2nd edition. I actually think I loved it. This one is Give Me English, which was impeccable vibes. Sorry, I know it's just like a placeholder cover because there isn't actually a cover for it, but oh, Ai Zhang is such a good writer. Oh gosh, what's this one? Uncanny. One Man's Treasure, that's what that is. Gosh, it's really stretching me trying to remember what these books are. Or is it One Man's Treasure? Oh, I can't remember now. Oh gosh. Well, I know this one's Antler's Journey. I'm going to say Deeply Mid. I didn't quite get where it was going, but it was also kind of interesting. The Passing of the Dragon was fantastic. Highly recommend. It's a short story available on reactor.com, so easily checkoutable. If that's a word, I don't know if it is. The Witches of World War II, I'm going to yeet it out a window. I did not enjoy that at all. Ivy Angelica Bay, impeccable vibes. I didn't love where it ended, but it was a good journey there. The Locked Coffin, Deeply Mid. I wanted to love it, I just didn't. Saltwater was another quite mid one. It had some interesting concepts. I just think the execution was not quite there. I'm pretty sure this is actually One Man's Treasure, but I don't remember. Right, we'll leave those to last and then we'll double check. I Am AI, I really loved. That's another book by Ai Zhang. Short Walk Through a Wide World. I am so glad I loved that because I was so worried I wasn't going to love it. So yeah, obviously I did because I've put it in the loved it category. A Thing Divine. Oh, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but it very much was my cup of tea. Happy Ever After. yeah, I'm going to put impeccable vibes. Like, I'm probably not going to remember it. Like, by the time this video goes up, I'm probably not going to remember that much about Happy Ever After, but I had a good time when I was reading it. He Who Bleeds, oh, I absolutely loved it. And look at that cover, stunning. Honeycomb, yes, impeccable vibes. They said it gave Black Mirror, and it very much did, right down to the very depressing ending. Imposter Syndrome, I'm going to actually say mid. I think I wanted a bit more from it. Like, I liked that you felt like you were on the back foot as you were reading it, but it just didn't quite deliver to the extent that I hoped it would. Long Live Evil, I absolutely adored. And yes, can I fit it in? There we go. Oh gosh, my loved category is so chunky. But yeah, it was quite meta, quite funny, and I am desperate for book 2. Queen Bee is impeccable vibes. Not quite as strong as like the main HMRC books, but still a very good book. Starter Villain is got to go in the loved category because it, oh dearie me. I'm trying to put them in order and there we go. Yeah, got to go in the loved category because, well, quite frankly, I loved it. This is going to be really fun next month, trying to tier rank stuff now that I've filled up the whole screen with covers so far. So let's just double check what those last two were, rank them, and then that'll be us for the month. This one is Better Living Through Algorithms by Naomi Kritzer, and I'm going to put it in loved it because I did love it. It was very well done. And actually same for One Man's Treasure by Sarah Pinsker. Very, very good short stories. Hopefully you've been able to recognize the books I've been talking about and like picked up the names of them. Like, if you need any clarifications, just like comment down below. Comment in the comments. Hopefully I will have a full list of all of the books that I've talked about in my tier ranking in the description, or possibly in a pinned comment. But that is June and July done, so I guess see you next month for August. It's been a minute since I did a tier ranking, so we've got a bit of catching up to do. So we're going to do August through November. We will go a month at a time because that way it's less intimidating for me. So let's just start, I guess. So what have we got? 13 Ways to Kill Lila Bell Rock. This one really surprised me, but impeccable vibes. So the next one is A Diary of Blood, and I don't normally put rereads into my tier ranking, but I had such a different experience compared to the first time I read this book, so it's going in the top category, which, because we've got so many, I have to scroll. I wonder if I can zoom out so we can actually see a bit better. So just to remind you, the top category is Love This Book and Look Forward to Treasuring It for Years. I'm going to see if I can zoom out. Oh, I can! Perfect. Heart of Desire and Deceit, I'm going to put with impeccable vibes. Like, it was decent. I think I had a slightly better time than A Game of Love and Betrayal, but it wasn't like mind-blowing, if that makes sense. False Confidence easily going in Treasure It for Years. Sophie Snow is very much an author for me now. Godly Heathens. So this is a weird one because I loved it when I read it, but I can't really remember anything about it now. So I think for that reason, I'm going to have to put it in impeccable vibes, even though I did really enjoy it at the time. How to Bite Your Neighbour and Win a Wager. Yeah, just there's something about the way this author writes that really does it for me. Mammoths at the Gates really surprised me because I hadn't had the best of experiences with the rest of the Singing Hills cycle, but I did have a fantastic experience with that book, and again, we'll look forward to reading it more in the future. We're going to have to zoom out again. There we go. It's getting bad, this level of zooming out. My Vampire Plus One, I'm going to put in Impeccable Vibes. Like, it was a really good read, but it wasn't top tier, which I think should make sense. The next chapter of Us, I'm not sure if it's got a definite article. I can't see with us so zoomed out. It's a really hard one because I had an absolutely miserable experience reading it because the FMC's name is Effie, and I just did not get along with that. But at the same time, it's a really good book. So on one hand, it definitely doesn't deserve to be yeeted out the window. But at the same time, I had such a bad time. Oh, I'm going to have to put it out in year out the window. But just let it be known, this book is really good and I recommend it. I just personally had a terrible experience. Sister Made a Monster, we're going to put in the top category. I feel like I've recommended it so much and talked about it so much this month that it just has to be top tier. The Hunter's Gambit, Slutty Bisexual Vampires, need I say more? Shadows of Ren is the epitome of a deeply mid book. And True North, I'm going to put in If You Can't Say Anything Nice. And on to September. Curse of Breath and Blood, I'm going to say Impeccable Vibes, but I also feel like jury's out until the second book comes out. Alpha Inmate, I'm going to say good in the moment. Like, it's not a very good book, but I had a good time with it. And I'm going to put Alpha Ruined in deeply mid, partially because when you go to look at Alpha Ruined on, I'm going to say Amazon because I've got these on Kindle Unlimited. When you go to look at Alpha Ruined, the synopsis basically recommends that you read Alpha Inmate first. Like, you don't have to. The stories, like, it's interconnected world, but they stand on their own. But I disagree with that. I think that they would actually be better read in the opposite order, because having the foreknowledge from Alpha Inmate, I think, impacted my enjoyment and perception of Alpha Ruined. Bonded by Thorns. Ooh. I'm going to put in If You Can't Say Anything Nice, but it's just making it into that category. Compound Fracture, well, it's not an enjoyable book, but it's an exceptionally good book. Forever Red, oh, I didn't grab it, my apologies. Forever Red, yeah, I love Harvey Oliver Baxter's writing, and I'm very glad there's more to come. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. Oh, His Made by Vengeance, easily top category. I think I went in with really low expectations, so when this was a beyond exceptional read for me, it just made it all the better. Immortal Dark, I'm gonna put in Impeccable Vibes. It may have been more of the top category, but sitting here with like a couple of months removed, I think it is just Impeccable Vibes. Odd Spirits, S.T. Gibson, so obviously it's going in the top category. Shoestring Theory surprised me. I'm very wary of cozy fantasy, but it was so good. to the point that I've bought this author's graphic novel, The Demon of Beausoleil, and I'm really excited to read that. Like, I'm very tempted to pick it up now, even though I've got plenty of books on the go, and it's not as if the book's going to go anywhere. I own it. The Collected Regrets of Clover, I think it was a good concept, not perfectly executed. The Peregrine Flies West. Okay, so this is one that's going in If You Can't Say Anything Nice, because I can't remember basically anything about it. The Ravening. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the top category. It's just slipped in, but there was just such a... Like, I was on the edge of my seat throughout it, and I had no idea where the story was going. And I also think Daniel Church really executed the folk horror aspect of it perfectly. Vampires Never Say Die, Yeet It Out the Window. I didn't love the way that this book handled the body dysmorphia as a result of the character becoming a slayer overnight and suddenly being buff as a result. And then Woven in Gold, that's going in Yeet It Out the Window. Like, I really hate this series, but I somehow can't stop reading. But the reason this is going in Yeet It Out the Window rather than If You Can't Say Anything Nice is because it started getting really silly. It started being a case of, like, the characters would initiate intimacy and then, like, stupid things would stop them from fulfilling it. And this is not to say that, like, I disliked it because it gave me the gender neutral version of Blue Balls, but that it felt very contrived, the way that it was like, oh, we can't have sex because of this stupid reason. And it just kept happening throughout the whole book. I'm sure I'll be talking more about these books in a video closer to the end of the month. But that is a wrap on September. On to October. I don't know why they're all spread out, but we've got 6 stories as part of the Busybodies collection, so I'm just going to blast through them. So A Classic Case, I'm going to put in mid. Crime of Fashion, If You Can't Say Anything Nice, One Lucky Subscriber, mid. Staged, mid. Like, I think I liked the murder aspect, didn't like the romance aspect. The Nosy Neighbour, If You Can't Say Anything Nice, and Family Dinner, or Impeccable Vibes. Like, I really enjoyed the story, I just can't imagine ever returning to it, and that's why it doesn't make the top category. Panic is going in Impeccable Vibes. I had high hopes and it just didn't quite live up to them. Pansies is going in the top category. It's Alexis Hall, another author that I just adore. Rogue Community College, Impeccable Vibes. It was just missing a certain je ne sais quoi. Ruby and the V-Day Vampires, Impeccable Vibes, I'd say. Sagasa, yes. Oh, Sagasa's so good. Same for Bloodless Princess. Bone Diver, yeah, let's pop it in the top category. It's very much a gothic vibes book, but it does it so well. The Grief Nurse, same gist as the Bone Diver, same author, so it makes sense. The Last Raven, Yeet It Out the Window. Venomous in the top category. And When the Moon Hatched, okay, this is a really hard one for me, and that's why I want to reread it, because I found the first half of the book really difficult, and then I was just absolutely in love with the second half of the book. I'm gonna have to put in deeply mid because of that mixed feelings that I had about it. And that's a wrap on October. That was a short and sweet quick one, and we're on to November, which is the last batch of them that I'm doing today Obviously we will have one more tier ranking before the end of this video, but I need to actually finish reading for the year before I can make that. By the Pine, oh, the banter, oh, oops, did not mean to put that there. The come on. The banter, the romance, the deep lore, oh, everything about it just worked so well for me. I think Blazing Desires will go with Impeccable Vibes. Keep in the Dark is, easily 5-star. I got 5-star feeling throughout the whole of it. Trigger, I mean, I don't think it needs to be scrubbed off the earth, but it didn't work for me. In fact, I think for a lot of people it's going to resonate, and it's a book that, needs to exist for the people that, can connect to it, but it didn't quite work for me. No Place Left to Hide was another one where, like, in the first half I wasn't having a good time, but the second half was fantastic, so I'm going to put it in mid next to When the Moon Hatched. The Witch and His Crow, I'm going to put in impeccable. No, actually, I'm going to put it in the top category because I actually did have a really good time with it. His Mate by Resistance is the sequel to His Mate by Vengeance, and I was worried that it wasn't going to match up to how good His Mate by Vengeance was, but it did. It was just as good, and I was so here for it. Cruel is the Light, I'm going to put in Impeccable Vibes, but potentially it would theoretically go in the top category on reread. I got through it really quickly, and I want to be able to go through it a little bit slower to take the time to really take it all in and enjoy it. The Crack at the Heart of Everything, it's somewhere between these two categories. I think I'm going to put it in the top category because it's got a lot of growth. Clearly, Fiona Fenn, the author, has spent a lot of time building out the backstory for these characters, and it was just a beautiful story. A Betrayal of Storms, I don't know why it took me by surprise that I enjoyed it so much, but it did. But it was very much top category. Seducing Scylla, I had some very specific criticisms of it, but it was otherwise a great book, so it goes in Impeccable Vibes. Kingdom of Lies somehow was even better than A Betrayal of Storms, which I have no idea how because it was so good. And Saint of Heartbreak, it's a slow going story but beautiful. I loved the romance between the devil and Judas. It really, really worked, and it's just my vibe, that kind of, like, I think it's technically Bible slash. I love it. So that's all for now. I'll be back one more time for one more tier ranking, and then we will have the whole year. What I will say is I am actually really happy with how this is shaping up. The fact that the top category is by far the largest, and then there's statistics. There's a correlation with the lower the category, the fewer books in that category, which is what I would aim and strive for. Enough yapping. I'm going to go now. I can't believe we're finally here. We are at the final tier ranking of 2024, and it is my December one. It's the final one. So let's just tier rank these last books. So first up, we have All I Want for Xmas is a Vampire. That is easily going into the bottom category. I despise that book. A corporate mandated holiday romance is the other end of the spectrum, and I absolutely adored it and kind of can't wait to reread it many times in the future. Deck the Halls was really surprisingly kind of tender, and yeah, it's going in the top category. Oh, Forged by Malice, which is the third book in the Beast of Briar series. I can't remember too much about what happened in it. I'm gonna say, if you can't say anything nice, like, I don't actually necessarily think it was better than Woven by Gold, but I don't remember too much. I just know I'm not a big fan of this series, even though I cannot stop myself from reading them, apparently. Hook Up to a Holiday, I think impeccable vibes. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I just can't see myself returning to it. That's not to say I won't, but like, I'm not itching to reread it already. Well, I only read it like a week ago, but still. Lightfall Treasure is just so well written. Oh, I loved it so much. Make the Season Bright, I think impeccable vibes. Like, I enjoyed it as I was reading it. It took a second to warm up to both of the characters, but then by the end of it, I was having a good time with it. It's a weird one because it's like, I gave it 5 stars at the time, and already with only a little bit of distance, I'm like, was that really a 5 star? Was I just in a good mood? Naughty or Nice is a Sophie Snow, so it's got to go in the top category. I just absolutely loved my time with it. One More Gift, it surprised me because I started it being like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about it. But I think I'm going to say impeccable vibes. Santa is a Slut, same sort of situation. It's very smutty, as you might gather, but it was enjoyable. There wasn't too much stakes involved, and just overall, I had a good time reading it. Slade, you know what? I was going to say put it in the top category, but I had issues with just one particular aspect of one of the stories, so I'm putting it in impeccable vibes for that reason. Set the Record Straight, definitely going in treasured. I think, I don't know why it surprised me so much, but it really did, and I just had the best of time with it. The Santa pageant, I'm gonna put impeccable vibes. Like, I do have an issue with books where there's a character called Effie, but this one was nowhere near as bad as the other book that I read that had a character called Effie, and I ended up having a really good time with it. I'm just still going to be a bit nervous about reaching for it regardless. We have to zoom out again. Oh no. We almost got to the end. We've got literally one more title. I know there's like, well, I don't know if you can see the bottom of the screen, but there's like 2 more titles, but the last one's a duplicate. So we've just got 'Tis the Season for Revenge. And I think I'm going to be quite generous and put it in the top category. I did end up having quite a good time with it, but I do think there was a little bit too many spicy scenes, and the balance was just a little bit off. And that's it. We've officially tier ranked all of the books that I read for the first time in 2024. We've done it! We've gotten through the full year. All of my 2024 books have been tier ranked. Do you agree with how I've ranked all of these? Obviously, they're all very personal. You know, what works for one person isn't going to work for another. But I always love to hear different people's opinions about books. So let me know in the comments your thoughts and feelings on any of the many books I have tier ranked throughout the whole of this year. But thank you for watching. Until next time, love you. Bye.